All right. The intro worked today, which is amazing. Yesterday when we did it, it didn't work. Rassie Pieterse, bud, how's it going?
Good on you, Oaks. How's Cape Town?
Lekker, lekker. It's good. Windy as hell again today, but the sun's out, so that's better than being rainy, I suppose.
There'll be some people with the guns out today in this weather.
Yeah,
Yeah,
being
it's
blown
looking
off.
forward to this. Same here in Joburg. Gangsters Paradise has also been boiling. Yeah, we're all good.
Yeah, at least that's one good thing. At least the weather in South Africa is turning for the better now.
At least they say that it helps with this virus, but I'm not too sure. It must be winter in the
Wow.
Eastern Cape at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's lockdown been treating you, dude? I know everyone's been sort of going through their own different struggles, but I'm sure you've had a completely different struggle, being with the Olympics qualifying and then not going and then all of that. How's lockdown been treating you?
Yeah, I think like everybody else, it's been a bloody roller coaster. It's been I think a bit of a. I think there's nothing worse than something that hits you that you're not expecting, and then also the worst is that you can't plan. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or where you're going. So obviously this year was a big year for hockey or for sport with the Olympic year. We hanged in there until I think they only called it off end of April at the end of the day. And, you just have been on this emotional roller coaster. For me personally, it was like this 2020 was a big year for me hockey-wise because I was supposed to retire this year at Tokyo from international hockey. So now for my sins, now I've got to wait for another year. So this old Bolton I need to stretch for hopefully until next year. But yeah, I think we're all in the same boat. I think we all got the similar kind of stories about lockdown. There's some good things that's also happened in lockdown. It's nice to be home for a change. It's weird not using that green Mamba passport and just being all over the world. So it's actually nice spending some time with family. But I think it's been quite stressful. But I think we're all in the same boat, so we got to weather the storm together and stay positive.
Yeah, no, definitely. So tell me, what have you been up to in lockdown? I know at one stage you were helping us making stupid toilet paper videos to keep people entertained, but obviously limited training and all of that for you guys. What have you guys been doing to sort of stay active and just stay busy? And
Look, I mean, that 21 days or whatever, that extended 14 days, it was like just one long braai. I was just braaiing every single day. It was awesome. It was just epic. I mean, to stay fit, I mean, it has been a bit tricky. I mean, we were actually top fit, coming into end of Feb. We just finished that series against the US and against the Germans. So we were actually in top nick. So it was nice to take a bit of a break, but then you just felt this lockdown is getting longer and longer. So, and then in that 21 days, like everybody else, I think me and my girlfriend, we broke up 23 times. So it was quite fun. Like I said earlier, it was just, I think in a way the world also had to slow down a little bit. I think it's just been hectic. So I think that 21 days or whatever it was, just sitting at home, you're not allowed to leave your yard or open your front door. I think it's just made everybody reflect a little bit on life and, what is life actually about. And also just like, it's like really thinking about the stuff we always take for granted. I'm just sure now everybody is like, you won't see Loftus having, it's just the groundsman and his dog in the stadium for the last couple of years. But I'm sure when the floodgates open, you're going to see full stadiums again, because I think we all take a lot of stuff for granted. So a lot of things goes through your head. But listen, I mean, in the lockdown, I was quite chilled. I set out my garage. I had a couple of rebound boards that I just stole there from Gareth Young and them at St. John's to try to kick a couple of balls for myself. I mean, half the balls got eaten by my dogs. But you just had to try to stay and maintain. And I think the biggest thing was to look after your diet around that. I mean, because it was been a long time before we could get back on the hockey field. I mean, we've only been on the hockey field for the last, what has it been now, 8 or 9 weeks, doing physical hockey training. We're only allowed to train twice a week in the evenings. So we all just train in our pods around the country, and only the national players are allowed to train. So it was a little bit tricky because, I feel sorry for the two Oaks in Port Elizabeth. So they've just been passing balls, bunting balls at each other for the last 8 or 9 weeks. And also for the
you can do a
goalkeepers,
little
it's also been
one-on-one
because we
tackling
had
box at least.
all of a sudden. Yeah, it's whatever they did. So, I mean, we never saw the videos or the Instagram videos going, so maybe they're still on holiday, but we'll check when the boys get back together. And then, so it's just been great being on the hockey field. Unfortunately, Gareth Ewing has implemented in our 2-hour session an hour flat-out fitness to get a bit of those lockdown stakes out. So us as goalkeepers, we don't really enjoy the running, but it's just good to be back on the hockey field again. And just refocusing of where we want to go. A lot of things also happened behind the scenes. We were not just sitting at home, but we also had a lot of sessions with Ian Shippey and Craig Caroline. They basically are two sports psychologists working with the team just on our mental fitness. So every Wednesday night, everybody would log on, all 45 players in the squad, and we'll just discuss certain kind of topics and just work on our team culture and where we want this team to go. So that's actually been flipping awesome because we never have the time to do these things. So for the first time, we've actually had time to spend a bit of time on our mental health, what the actual team goals are, what it actually means to play for this team, and then where we want to be, not just at the Olympics next year, but where we want to be in the next Commonwealth Games and next World Cup. So I think everybody is on the same page, from the youngest player, 17 years old, that's in the squad, until obviously old farts like myself. But so a lot of things happen behind the scenes. So I'm just looking forward to get back out in the park and actually starting to play matches again.
Yeah, I must say, I think especially with the hockey, I think the fact that you guys get to bond a little bit more, even though it's remotely, I'm sure that must be amazing for you guys, because I know, when compared to obviously your bigger sports, I know it's always a struggle to get everyone together because that requires finances and blah, blah, blah. So I can imagine that must be quite cool. And luckily it's not the Spanish flu, because back then they didn't even have internet or anything to get together.
Yeah, crikey Moses, yeah. I can imagine how many babies then would have been out in the world.
Rust, on a sort of, let's say, coaching, or sort of, not really a coaching, but sort of a practice point of view, was it a bit strange to get back with all the protocols and everything? I know there's quite a lot of youngsters around, and they've gone back to hockey at school, and having to deal with hockey, and they don't know. Hockey's quite different to what it was before pre-COVID. Obviously, with all the can't pick up the balls, can't pick up the beacons, all these little weird and wonderful little protocols we have to find out. Did you guys find it a bit strange, like everyone else has been finding it strange the first few weeks?
Yeah, I think we had to adapt our training a little bit. So obviously you had no contact training, and then of course in hockey you were talking about those tackle boxes. So unfortunately it was also for the PE guys illegal to have a tackle box for the first part of the series. So yes, I mean the nice thing was the coaches had to collect the balls. We were not allowed to touch the hockey balls. So yeah, you had your certain protocols. You had to arrive with your face mask. When we get into a team huddle, you won't really call it huddle. We just spread out and have our social distancing. I think fortunately with hockey, we don't go into scrums and touching each other. It's like, you got your hockey stick and nobody touches your hockey stick. You don't touch their hockey stick, and you take it from there. I think what we've just been working on, we worked on a lot of skill sets, especially for the goalkeepers. It's been pretty awesome. We've finally had some time to have like real technical training with some of our goalkeeper coaches. So yeah, it was quite weird, but I think the timing was also right. I don't think we needed anything more than that. And I must be honest, I've been training obviously at Randburg with the Southern Gauteng guys and some of the Northerns guys, and they've just been incredible. I mean, the stadium, they've just gone out of their way to make it safe for us to train, to make sure they make the admin for our guys where a sportsman is usually sort of admin like myself, just make it easy. There was an app we can just like register before training. They would just take our temperature and we get out there and do our thing. And then, Gareth Hugh was also quite strict. We all just like, if you had any kind of symptom or if you had any kind of contact with anybody else, the guys were quite honest and open about it. And you would just not come to training for that certain period of time. So we had some cases where some of the Oaks were in contact with some COVID, someone that tested positive for COVID, and some of the guys, had to miss out 2 weeks of training. So yeah, so it was quite a safe environment, and still a safe environment that we're working on at the moment.
So just one thing I wanted to touch on with when you spoke about the training there. So obviously, like you mentioned, training's a whole lot different now. But do you feel like, obviously before lockdown, you guys had camps together and you had a couple of series, like you mentioned, with the USA and Germany, and especially the Germany one. I know you ended that last game with a good result. But do you feel that you guys are at the point now where you, even though the training's so much different, you can build on what you did previously? Or is there a little bit of sort of catching up now to do before the Olympics next year?
Yeah, Ryan, I'll be quite honest with you. I mean, I had this chat to Gareth the other day, and it's like, was this break or this postponement good for South Africa or bad for us? And I think in a way, yes, we had some great momentum. I mean, we had an excellent 2019 season, qualifying, making the finals against India in the World Series in India. And then, we just had a great series against USA where we just whitewashed them and Belito. And then, like you said, then the Germans came out to South Africa. We started a bit slow in the series, but, the last game we got a result out of them. So we had real good momentum. But I think, like in anything, and Springs will back me on this, is there's always room for improvement. And I think that the room for improvement was us. It's like, okay, what kind of style of hockey do we want to play? So everybody's on the same page. And what kind of team culture we want to have. And that's exactly what we worked in the lockdown. It's like, getting everybody on the same page. Everybody is motivated. Everybody understands his role in the team. So we've seen some massive growth just in our mental strength of where we want to go and the kind of patterns and the kind of tactics that the coaches want out of it. So we worked on that over the last couple of months, which is the things that you don't really have time for. I mean, like you say, we get together. It's always crunch time. We get into a couple of days before tournament. There's so many topics that you have to touch on. You have to work through before the tournament starts. And when the tournament starts, you can only just twirl and fix one or two small things. Yeah. So I definitely think we're ahead from a tactical point of view and also from a headspace of view. I would say that. And it's also great to see the guys' hunger. And I think. The one point I made at training the other night, and Gareth also brought it up, is like we mustn't be impatient at the moment. I mean, all the countries are on the same boat. Even though there's some pro league that's being played in Europe at the moment, they've also had some postponements. They're also not training flat out like we can train at the moment. I think the biggest part is we have to peak on the 23rd of July. We don't have to peak on the 15th of January or in February or in March. So we need to take it step by step and work on the stuff that we really, need to work on and improve on. And it's especially on the tactical point of view that I think we streets ahead. And I don't think we would have had the time, crunch time coming to the Olympics on one or two small ends.
Russ, the technical. So I just want to jump in on that while we're on the training aspects and that. Do you also feel that this is a great time for hockey players to actually work on those finer technical things as well at times? Because I know obviously you're in a slightly different situation where the national team, you sort of the technical skills are at a quite high level, but you also feel that like this is time to actually really go back to basics and just work on those finer little details that you maybe don't normally have time, especially preparing for a tournament where it's more about organization and getting things as a unit, tying everything together and making sure everyone's on the same page?
Yeah, I mean, kicks, absolutely. I think this has been great. I mean, I can only speak for the Joburg guys because obviously I train with them, and you have to see the guys' basics at this stage, just their first touches. A couple of things that like your elimination skill, just the way the boys are moving the ball, and it's all just on the stuff they've actually been working on for the last 8 to 9 weeks. And if I take the first 2 or 3 weeks, it was really rusty and it was all over the place. But the nice thing was there was no pressure. So it was really like you had the time, to try everything out, the typical trial and error. What works for me? Let me try this new skill until I get it right. And all of a sudden it becomes muscle memory. So yes, absolutely. That is one of the things that I think really where the guys have like really sharpened up, because they've been working hard on that. And also credit coaches. The guys have been incredible out there. It's like bringing in proper specific training to what we want to implement in the games, especially how we want to eliminate around the circle. How do we want to defend our deep circle? As for goalkeepers, we've really found the time now. It's like, how can we work in certain different game scenarios? So usually, like I said, you come in camp, you got a couple of guys that smash a few balls at your head, and you have a couple of short corners, and then you're into game time. So now we can really go work on those smaller, finer skills. And like I say, the main thing is just building that muscle memory. And when we go into competition time, it'll be evident, and it will show. So that has been great.
Have you had any contact training up until now? Like, just a question, like, is it still all complete social distancing?
Yeah, we started. We got the green light. I think it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago that we can go, when they said, okay, we can play sport again, proper sport, like you guys are playing now in Cape Town, all your different summer leagues. So we've got into contact. I think the guys hate it because obviously Springer's put out his 2v2s over half a hockey field, and we know that's quite tiring after 30 minutes. So, but it's just been yeah, it has been great. I mean, the guys are absolutely grafting hard, and not just that, to touch on a few of the younger players. So all of a sudden, there's a clean slate. So they got another year to make the team, where there maybe was not enough time for them to crack into the last 18 or the last 16 that's going to go to Tokyo. So the boys are pushing hard. Yeah, so there's been contact and no silliness around everything, and it's just been proper training. I must give a lot of credit to the coaches.
And how's the coaching working now? Because obviously, like you mentioned, there's players all over the country. Who's running the sessions? Does the coach give you guys things to do for each session, and you sort of manage it yourselves, or how does that work at the moment? Oh, I think we've lost Rassie. Sorry, guys. Gigs, are you still there?
I'm here.
There we go.
I am here.
Sorry, everyone. We had some issues with Rassie's connection earlier, but he'll probably be back soon. I don't know, Kent Kokora, if you're watching, but somehow Kent tried to join the chat here now. I don't know.
I think I put it in. I think I put it in the wrong. I tried to send it to a group, and I think I sent the wrong link to him. I sent the StreamYard link. I try to get him in. I try to get Coach Lappa into the chat.
I was like, I don't know if it'll be a good idea to have 3 Belleville people in this chat.
I try to get Coach Lappa live with us,
So while we're waiting for Rassie, Keegan, don't you want to give us just a bit? I know you told me the other day what the your sort of training regime, and with all the new rules and all the regulations and whatever. Why don't you just run us through all the shit that you guys have to do now as coaches, that's obviously completely new to you guys?
Right, so obviously before any player can get onto the field, what we need to do is every player gets like sort of a form. So has to fill in name, surname, obviously all the basic things. Tick all the boxes, have his temperature checked. players walk onto the field gets sanitized. Um, obviously, you've got to try to keep everyone 1.5 meters apart. Obviously,
which I'm sure is super difficult with school kids.
with kids is not easy. Obviously, guys like Rassie and the rest of the SA squad is a bit easier. They do understand the situation. Kids, when they see their friends, they want to be right in each other's faces, laughing and carrying on. So from there, we have to obviously set out drills. So it's obviously you set out your drills, and which is quite weird, but not too weird, is you try not have drills with long lines in it. Obviously, that's the way you always want to train. You don't want people waiting.
Yeah.
But if they're the same thing as the hockey players or the hockey folk out there will know, a 3-man weave where you know there's going to be a line, we physically have to put 1.5 meter beacons out where kids can stand. So we actually almost have to put out exactly where people can stand.
Basically, like the cues in checkers.
Basically, like the cues and checkers. So basically, we have to have that on the field. We also have to. We can't allow. We've got to set out the beacons. We've got to set up, make sure all the balls are in the right areas. Kids can go and collect balls, but no picking up of balls. So it's obviously, which us as coaches hate. Don't knock the balls back to the coach. You know, we always tell kids pick it up.
Everyone just hits it to the middle, and it's a complete
exactly. So that's pretty much what we deal with right now. If a kid does pick a ball up, you got to sanitize his hands straight away. If kids need to leave, the field basically becomes a bubble at this point in time, which is a bit of a nightmare. So you would have the kid that be like, "Sorry, I need to go to the bathroom," or somehow a ball hits him in the face, or his nose starts bleeding. It's like you got to go through. If he leaves the field and he comes back in, it's a whole sanitization thing.
Yeah,
it's a whole thing that's sorted over again. So that's just a bit of the basics of what the current hockey field looks on at a real amateur level at this point in time.
Yeah. Okay, Rassie, you back. Sorry, I don't know if you heard my
guys,
question.
I don't know where I lost you there.
That's fine.
I think I did hear your question. I definitely did hear your question, but I was actually basically just telling myself and my dogs how fit I am and how hard I'm training at the moment. So, it's like then I realized I'm cut off. But yes, so just to give you an idea. So first of all, we got our sports scientist, Kavesh. He's been brilliant. We absolutely hate him because he's doing a good job. He sent us our training programs. So that's basically all your gym work, all your running work that you have to do by yourself. And then, of course, when you get to training, then then the coach sees you and see how fit you really are, just to keep on pushing yourself. So you'll have that. And then Springer, he's just been great, keeping all the provincial coaches and upcoming coaches involved in the SA main setup. So if we have a training camp, for instance, in Durban or in Joburg, he'll always invite some of the coaches, and use them as trainers. So everybody is on the same page. So for the guys in Cape Town, when they train with the Western Province coach or with any of the other coaches in the system, they'll all be on the same page. I mean, it's the same in Northerns. We see Claire, that's the S-21 coach. He's got the same Bible that Springer is coaching out. So I think everybody is on the same page. I think all the coaches, I think, sends in a report to Springer, and they all report back of what is working, what is not working, the level of fitness of the guys, the level of skill of the guys, and just where it is. Because soon, I think in the next couple of weeks, they're actually going to select a SA team and a SA team that will hopefully play against the Dutch in January. The Dutch is planning to come out to South Africa. Also some rumors that the French, the Irish, and the Germans are also keen to come out over that period, over Jan, February. And then if that doesn't happen, then I guess, if the borders maybe close or something happens, then I guess it will just be a proper tournament, SAA, South Africa derby, and then they'll have to select, obviously, the team from there. And then of course there's Aslan Shah Cup that's also on the calendar for us in Malaysia. That's always a proper tournament. It's going to be a proper humid, hot, sweaty, wet conditions that I'm sure that's how Japan is going to be. And you always have the Aussies, the Kiwis, the Indian team, and obviously a good Malaysian team that will be there. So we're invited to that, which is quite excited. So let's just hope Sascock or SA Hockey can get the bucks for us so we can go. And then they're also talking about, coming to South Africa. So there'll be lots of hockey if everything just calms down with COVID and the borders stay open. There'll be plenty of hockey for us, and there'll be plenty of hockey in South Africa. That's quite exciting for all our South African fans and for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rassie, I've got a question from someone, and it's on a private group here because they're busy watching on the slide, seems, and they don't want to put it on the Facebook chat. But and I think it's
By the
someone
way,
that's
sorry, Keegan, sorry, before you go with that, everyone that's listening, you guys can post comments on YouTube and Facebook, and we'll share it on the screen with any questions or whatever you guys want to say. Sorry, go ahead, Keegan.
I got one question sent to me about the lads that are overseas, all around Europe. Do you have any idea what the situation with them is? Are you catching up with them? Are they on something similar training? Training program, or are they on something totally different at this point in time? Because they are probably playing a bit more hockey at this stage than some of the guys back here at home.
Yeah, look, nothing is different from the past. We all got the same kind of programs from a fitness point of view. We also know the guys that's now in competition time in Europe, that they're doing a little bit more than the guys that's out of competition. So it's also just like maintaining, being smart about how you're training. And there's lots of comms. There's every week or every second week, there's a lot of comms between the players that's based in South Africa, the players that's based in Europe, of like what is happening. There's actually a nice camaraderie for the guys, like quite a nice support group going around. Like, we want our Saffers to do well in the European leagues, and the same our mates and the teammates that's playing in Europe. They want the guys to graft in South Africa. So when we get together, that we're all on the same page and we're ready to charge. So unfortunately, obviously, there's now been lockdown again. In England, so one of our brothers, or Peebo, it's his first tour to or his first break to Ireland, to Europe. So he's just been sitting in his apartment since he got there. So the poor guy's a little bit buggered. So at least we do at least once a week a brother call just to see how he's doing and if he's enjoying.
How's the brother hanging?
and if he's kissed his first redhead yet, we don't know. But so there's constant contact. We're all on the same page. We know when the guys are playing on the weekend and they have their trainings. A double session maybe on a Tuesday. Kavesh, our fitness trainer, doesn't expect the guys to do their big physical training if there's one on a Wednesday or something like that. So the guys are quite mature of what we want to achieve. Everybody's on the same page, and everybody knows what kind of shape and form you have to be when you get back together in the training camp.
Also, Russ, we obviously know we've got a few. We're lucky. We're in this point of view. Well, we're at this stage where we've got a few South Africans coaching overseas now as well, which is wonderful for the game. And it just shows you that South African coaches can make it all over the globe. Are we using those coaches like we did in previous years? Like maybe, I know, was it a year or so back where we had like those little European training camps where we had a few of the coaches. Obviously, the SA management got in contact with them and ran a few sessions with those lads. Do we sort of have that same setup still, or is it more hands-on from the South African side?
Look, Kiggs, I'll be quite honest here, and it's unfortunate though, because we are losing a lot of our coaches. I mean, you just check. If you look at Ned, Craig Fulton, he was in our setup. A couple of years ago, he was still the assistant coach and applying for the head coach job. Now he's with Belgium. They won the World Cup. He's won a World Cup. And the same goes, for other guys out there, Paul Revington, Pity Coetzee in the US. So unfortunately, we are losing our coaches, and it all just comes about. It's all about just the bucks at the end of the day. So the guys that we have in the setup is really just living from hand to mouth, and that is if they even get something from that. So that is unfortunately the reality. The nice thing is about these South African coaches. You know, I can give Revs anytime a buzz, and he'll answer his phone. And if I've got any questions, they'll always be helpful. You know, even with Craig Fulton, you know, being with the Belgian team, you know, when you see him, I mean, they were playing in our pool at the hotel or around the stadium. There's always a friendly chat, and you know, and Oaks are happy to talk a little bit of hockey. But unfortunately, it is a fact that we are losing more and more of our coaches out of our structures, and it's so sad. We definitely have the talent. I mean, to answer your question on that, I always said, you know, SA Hockey is a sleeping giant, and I'll keep on saying that until we get the senior structures right. Because if you look at our junior structures, I mean, our junior structure is just amazing if we compare it to all over the world. I mean, we got so many kids playing hockey, and it's just growing. I don't think hockey is growing as much in other parts of the world like it is in South Africa. That is a fact. And it means people are starting to fall in love with the game. The problem is, the biggest problem is like, you know, what happens after school? I mean, you know, you're a coach yourself. If you're going to coach some of your matric lighties or some of the under 18 girls, and you ask them, listen, who's going to play hockey next year? Maybe 2 or 3 girls will put up their hands. And those are the 2 girls that's maybe got a bursary, and the other girl's dad is a hockey coach, or the mom is a hockey coach somewhere at a club, and they just grew up like that. So there's no real carrot for players out there. And it goes the same way with the coaches. You know, why do you want to offer up so much of your time and so many late evenings? And, you know, being a coach, you know, it's a thankless job in a certain way. You also always know you're always going to get fired. You're never going to resign. That's just the fact of the coach. So unfortunately, you know, is like these international teams and clubs will pick up some of our coaches. In a way, it's probably a nice experience for a lot of our coaches. It's also nice for the European clubs. I think it's a bit of cheap labor as well. But it's just amazing to see how the guys go overseas. I mean, one of your mates that actually grew up with you guys, Craig Sieben, you see, you know, he went to Holland for a 2-year break, and it's been now probably 10 years or probably even longer.
Yeah.
And he's doing incredible in the Dutch structure. So, yeah, it is a sad thing, and hopefully we can change it. But unfortunately, it comes down to, again, money buys the whiskey, and it's a sad state of affairs in SA Hockey at the moment.
Russ is talking about that, like, obviously we know the struggles of SA Hockey, and it's not new struggles. I mean, struggles we've been having for years. Do we see, do you feel that, is it going to take a good Olympic Games run, or is it going to take a good few Olympic Games, or it's going to take a few good Commonwealth Games, or it's going to, you know, do you think backing will come at some point in time if it's consistency in results, or do you think it's actually more than that at this point in time? Because I know it's very easy. People go around and say, when you have a winning horse, it's easy to back a winning horse. But a winning horse doesn't always mean that a structure is there. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's a great talent pool, and that's why you were able to do X, Y, and Z. And that's why I say, like, we obviously want SA Hockey to do as well as they can, and the men's and the ladies' sides do brilliantly. But do you think that that's enough to get, you know, that backing that we currently need in the sport?
Yeah, look, it's Keeks, to be honest, it's an ongoing thing, and it's a bit of that chicken and egg thing. It's like, you know, people want us to get results and win gold medals, and then the money will come. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that in top sport. I mean, you have to really invest in a medal. I mean, in 2008, I remember in Beijing Olympics just chatting to American swimming coach. And now he explained to me, I can't even remember what the figure was, but he just said, listen, we invest at least $4 million into a medal. You know, we take an athlete, we take them to get the best training, you know, to make sure that this athlete doesn't have to worry about a job, doesn't have to worry about a roof over his or her head, just have to train and make sure they get to the best competitions. So when the time comes, that athlete's got the experience and the training to go win that medal. We got a bit of a scenario in South Africa. If you perform, then you get the bucks. I mean, I've been through a scenario in SA hockey throughout my career. There was patches where we performed bloody well. We didn't get the bucks. So you're not too sure actually what the problem is. But if you think it's going to be a scenario where we can just rely on talent, then you're making a huge mistake. I mean, prime example is talking to the coach again. They're looking at some of their video equipment that they need to prepare to the Olympic Games, and that stuff is not cheap. It's like they're talking about 60,000 rand just for licensing code on sport code or whatever we use. I'm not even too sure, and that's just for one license. So if you have 3 coaches, you're looking at 180,000 rand immediately. That's without even getting them a laptop. If we don't have that, we can't do proper video analysis. So we're always one step behind, and that's the unfortunate thing. I mean, I've actually had a bit of an fallout this weekend, Saturday night at a bar. Like one of these clever guys, talking about hockey players are like mountain bikers. We're arrogant and we think we're this and we think we're that. But the conversation went the way of like, we are definitely punching way above our weight. I mean, it's just unbelievable to see. I mean, he was tuning me. He's like, yeah, but you guys are only ranked 14 in the world. And I said, yeah, it's fine. I said, but only 12 teams can qualify for the Olympics. But if you look at sport, how many of our South African sport teams are ranked in the top 15 in the world? And if you start looking at it, then you'll maybe think about only 2 teams. So we are definitely doing a good job for what we have. I mean, it's been a long time now that the Oaks are paying to get to training camps, and especially the guys that's in Europe. It becomes expensive for the boys to fly in and out, so they really have to plan their budgets. But the guys been doing it. I mean, the guys been committed. We drink out of a tap and we carry on with it, and we try to work around it. But if we're going to win medals on this route, no, it's impossible. So we need some kind of support. I mean, we were just talking about a kind of program building up to the Olympic Games. That program for Springer to run it properly is probably going to cost at least 5 bar. We need to get to Malaysia. We need to get to Europe. We need to get the right nutrition for the guys, stay in the right hotels, all of that. And also going to Tokyo, we all know Japan is an expensive country. So it takes a bit of time to get those kind of performances. That is the unfortunate thing. Sport has become very professional. Even though we still, in hockey, we still like to have a beer afterwards with our opposition after the game. Obviously not in big major tournaments, but at the last night of the tournament, we definitely make up for it. But so yes, it's an unfortunate thing in SA hockey, where I think there's definitely more money in junior structures than when you come to the senior structures. It's quite sad to see like some of the schools, their coaches are getting paid quite well, big figures, but the SA coaches are not getting paid. So something needs to change.
So just on that, Rassie, do you feel where do you feel that type of backing should be coming from at the moment? Should that be coming from private companies and sponsorships and things like that, or do you feel it's more on the government and SASCOC? And obviously, I don't want you to step on any toes here ahead of possible tournaments and shit like that. But I've always wondered, like, where should the money be coming from, do you feel?
I mean, if we just look at other country structures, we can take the Aussies, for instance. They've got a centralized program and it's been funded by the government, the Olympic Committee. So it's like all the national players, the men's and the ladies, they have to be based in Perth. They get their training, and they, you can say they're half and half semi-professional. I mean, they're not making huge bucks. They can't buy houses and fancy Bentleys, but at least they can play sport and they can work for their medals, and that's been working for the Aussies for a long time. So there's a couple of puzzle pieces, Ryan. I mean, it's definitely, yes, the support from government or SASCOC that athletes need. There's a kind of support that needs to come from a federation, and you're hoping that administrators are bringing some kind of sponsors in, but also to put a product on the table where it's interesting for the sponsors. And I think we saw the PHL for the first time. We've had a product where sponsors were interested because all of a sudden we got domestic hockey being played on SuperSport every weekend, and that's a product that SA Hockey can sell, and it brings a couple of bucks in. And then it's just like like the exposure to the game. Because I mean, if you look at international hockey and if you look at school hockey, there's such a big difference. I mean, it's with no defense, but I mean, it's boring watching under 16 girls team play, but it's quite exciting seeing our ladies playing against top Dutch team or German team or Argentinian team, especially Argentinian team, for a few other reasons, but then of course, then you need the players buy-in. If you have that backing, then you need to perform. And you need to show the sponsors, why they're putting their bucks in there and why they're backing you. So it starts from the top, needs to filter down. I think again, hats off to our junior structures. I think our junior structure has just been run incredibly, but because I also think we're lucky with a good school sports structure. Which is quite similar to the UK and very different to Europe, where they don't have a school structure. Well, I think we're quite fortunate, but we just haven't capitalized on that, what happens after school.
Rasta was going to actually, and I'm glad you touched on that and you actually said that right now, because myself and a few other coaches, I think here, especially in the Western Cape, the one thing that we find very strange is school structure. So club structure, school structure, and hockey as a whole are all run three separately and independently. And a lot of the struggle, and I find it as a coach here, is there's no alignment all the way through. So it's very what's best for each structure at the end of the day. Do you think for hockey to really step into that next level, and I'm not too sure how it's run in KZN or up there in Joburg where you are, but do you feel that at some point in time we need, like what we have in rugby, where Saru runs from senior to junior level all the way through and, has that plan all the way down for us to sort of maybe take to that next level?
Yeah, listen, Keegan, it's for me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you can't have three different structures, doing their own thing and think, a kid that just picks up a hockey stick going from one structure to another structure to a senior structure is going to have the same handwriting. It's just impossible. So for me, yes, those three structures. I mean, you've got really focused people, obviously running those structures. That's giving a lot of their time and passion to the game. But if the national coaches can't say to the under 18 structure or to the under 16 structure what kind of style of hockey we want to play, it's always going to be difficult for that lighty or that girl coming through. And all of a sudden, I'm in the S21 team, but I don't know how to press a certain way, or I don't know how to do a skill a certain kind of way. So yes, from a playing point of view, yes, and also just taking hands. We're talking about sponsors. It's like, where can we make the product bigger and better? I mean, for us, it's like, I always said for the youngsters, you need to create some heroes for them. I mean, the youngsters don't know who the SA hockey players are in South Africa. I mean, it's quite sad to see, when we travel to Europe or we travel to India, the kids know who we are, but when we come back to our home country, the kids don't know. So it means we haven't created that kind of structure where the kids can really look at, up to certain kind of players, and also having a mentor. And we as a senior players, we love to tap back into that. But, where do you start? If a parent doesn't pick up the phone, or some school doesn't pick up the phone and say, listen, please, can you come and give us some advice, all that, then it doesn't happen. So no doubt, I mean, if SA hockey or the hockey fraternity is not going to work together, then we'll always have that one chain is going to be missed somewhere, and that link we have to have between all the parties.
That's a lovely point.
Sorry, Kings. One thing that comes down, for me, what it comes down to is really, I see a lack of initiative from the national and provincial federations. And provincially, I can't speak for the other provinces, but in Cape Town, if you look at, there's a whole bunch of private companies, and I know Gozzy, who's watching over here, he runs one of those companies very successfully. And but it feels to me like it's up to private companies at school level to run initiatives and do camps and do amazing stuff with hockey, where to me that should be the federations that run that and push that, because then, like you say, you can do it under a mushroom, and everyone can have the same idea and the same philosophies as you go through the age group ranks. But at the moment, it's almost just like each company is doing his own thing, and fair enough, it's better than not being anything for these kids. But I think
If they don't do
we
it, no one
really-
else will. You got that feeling.
yeah, we really need the federations to
Yeah,
be taking that initiative and running with it.
Yeah, and I think now as a prime example, what's happened over COVID, it's actually stuck its head out now where, you can say all organized sport has been cancelled for this year. So the whole school calendar is cancelled, but there's kids that's keen to play. So all of a sudden you see all these private franchises popping up, these private academies popping up, all that. And it's happening, and it's not happening because somebody wants to make a quick buck, because the kids want to play. So it's like, get a product going. I mean, to come back to it, and I've always said that, it's good to have competition, but the thing is, it's like, where does SA Hockey come in, and where do they control this, and how do they regulate that? Because I also don't want to pay, a large sum of money, and my kid goes there and they get coached by Mickey Mouse, or that's just that a great marketing plan, but they're actually teaching my kids the wrong way. Or the wrong kind of culture. So it needs to be regulated in a way. And I think also SA Hockey can capitalize on that. The fact of the matter is, if you look at the SA Hockey office, there's only 3 people in the office. So, if you take other countries like the UK, they got, a couple of years ago, I don't know what it's like now, but they had 77 or 78 people in the office. Running all kind of different divisions, a high performance division, a junior division, marketing division, competition division, events division. So that brings that all to the party. So I think somewhere along the line, I understand there's not enough money coming in, so we can't have this massive office. But along the line, we have to be quite creative. And again, it comes down to that point of like taking hands and saying, right, okay, guys, here's a way we're going to regulate this. Here's a way that there's actually a fee that comes to SA Hockey to support these private companies and actually getting the kids what they need, but also taking these little junior franchises. I mean, what Ghazi and them are doing in Cape Town is just unbelievable with Enhanced Sports and the indoor franchise. But what happens now after that? They're talking about now bringing franchises under 23. That is great, but we should have had that a long time ago. And these are the kind of stuff. It's like, when the kids are leaving these franchises, that's really working, for people like we just mentioned now, that is actually passionate about hockey and actually doing a good job about that. It's actually putting a feather in their hat and say, right, okay, how can we build this now into our senior structure? But let's work together with SA Hockey, because at this stage, they don't have the human resources. That's a fact of the matter. And they can only do that much. So I also have to give that to them. But it takes, it's going to take a huge indaba to get all these people together. And then of course, unfortunately, everybody's got their own agendas. And that's usually where the shit hits the fan, to put it clearly. And then no decisions get made. So we need a kind of strong structure that will just like regulate all of this, bring kind of funds in. They can filter into the senior kind of programs, and they can fund a lot of these tournaments, and they can put a nice product on the table around that. So that's just my opinion.
Russ, like you were, and just before you got into this, and you've made some valid points and great points, and like we say, we've got people involved in this game that's really passionate about the game, and like Ryan just pointed out, that if we didn't have these private companies, we probably wouldn't have anything for these youngsters to really try and get a better product or get a better player out of it. But you touched on something earlier, and I thought it really hit the nail on the head at times, is in South Africa, we almost got this thing of too scared to sort of like share knowledge with each other. Mentorship is something that you touched on as well, which is something quite like, it's something very rare in this country. I find it very rare in this country, because we want coaches to be like, we want players to be better. If there was a young goalkeeper and he got your number and he was able to, we know if a young goalkeeper phoned you, you'd probably have a nice chat to him and, give him the steps and help him up where you can. We know there's other goalkeepers in the country that would do exactly the same thing. But people like coaches and that, it's quite tough to pick up the phone and try to phone another coach. Those little mentorship programs and stuff. And do you think that that's something maybe that holds us back at times, especially in hockey specifically, right now? Even though that we do have guys that will pick up the phone and do it, but there's others that just like it's not really inviting enough to do it. Like, I'll be honest with you, I chat to the Scottish assistant ladies coach, Chris Duncan, quite often. We've got each other on WhatsApp. We've had Zoom calls together. It's weird that I need to do that to a Scotsman, and I don't really have anyone in South Africa to do it with. It's quite a strange situation to be in.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy, and it's and I don't know if it's a South African mentality where we're too proud or to share your knowledge, or you think you're going to give something away that's your secret, all that, because all around the world, I mean, I've been lucky. I've been invited a few times to the States to go present at one of their events they call Winter Escape, and there you got 190 university and college coaches coming together once a year, and it's a one big, massive coaching course for 1 week. And they just invite players and coaches from all around the world, and they all discuss the same kind of points, the same kind of, and sharing the knowledge, to improve the game and all that. So yes, I mean, it is a lack of coaches really sharing their knowledge, and I brought that point earlier. This is what I like about Gareth Ewing.
We'll get Rassie when he gets back in, we'll get him to finish that point, because I think that was quite a good point to that.
But I must say, one thing that I did want to touch on that he also mentioned now is, I honestly do think it's a South African thing, and it's not just a South African hockey thing, but I've really picked up in South Africa that we don't really want our friends and people that we know we want them to be successful, but not as much as, like, I'm cool with you driving an Audi, but I want the Porsche.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a mentality thing, that where even if you speak in sport terms, then like, sure, I'll help you out with a couple of pointers, but I'm not going to give you my inside info, my top secrets.
Yeah, it's a pity. It's I think a discussion I've had with many other coaches, and Kent was dropping comments earlier, and he's one of that, and he's been part of those discussions. Finding people to coach coaches, it's not just coaching coaches, but giving an open platform for coaches to actually, instead of telling coaches what should be taught and what shouldn't be taught, more about giving coaches a platform to express themselves, and no right or wrong answer. You know what I mean? In that sort of way. You
almost need just like a forum type of platform where
100%.
Yeah,
but Rusty was on a good point there.
Sorry about that. I had a bit of a schoolboy error. My battery just died. So.
That's all good.
That's a proper fine, Rassie. That's a proper fine.
That would be a big one in the change room. That.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah. I think sharing of knowledge is not happening too often in South Africa, and I think I touched on. I don't know where I lost you guys.
You were saying
what I liked about Gareth Ewing was, getting all the coaches in the junior structures and the provincial, and all provincial teams, getting them involved in the SA squad. It's like sharing what are we actually doing, because he wants these coaches to go back and go coach their provincial kids and go coach their provincial players or university players of, like, this is the kind of style of hockey we want to play. And it's just that openness. So some days we'll have 8 coaches around the field. It's awesome. I mean, he's still running the show, but he's just implementing. And I bet you all these coaches go back and they like saying, wow, this is amazing. And having not closed door training sessions, inviting school kids to come to our training sessions, and they pack out the field and and they can see what we can do. The one thing, and that's unfortunate in hockey, because this is quite important, because hockey is not so much on TV. I mean, I remember as a lighty, you learned how to place a rugby ball because you watch Nas Botha on the weekend, or you watch whoever was your hero, and you'll go imitate it on the weekend with your dad, and you'll get out your stocking with your cricket ball, and you'll hit that cover drive like Jock Cullis is hitting it, in that test match. And that's where you learn a lot, by watching a lot of hockey and actually seeing what the good players are doing. And unfortunately, we don't see so much of that. So definitely, people need to pull together, and people need to wake up in South Africa and say, listen, we need to get an Indaba going. I mean, we've seen now over COVID how lekker Zoom call works, how lekker is this interview now. It feels like I'm sitting there in your lounge with a cold beer, and just discussing topics. So it's possible. And like you say, the openness that you see overseas, we need to start creating that culture in South Africa, and saying, listen, you've been in this scenario. I'm going to this tournament. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? And before that tournament, we can go there. And it was, and to be honest, I remember chatting to Ros Howell. I mean, she coached the ladies team at Athens Olympics. And then after our campaign in Beijing, we didn't have a great campaign, Olympic campaign in 2008. I remember bumping into her in the function, and she was just like, I wish Clarkie would just, gave me a phone call, because there was one or two scenarios that I could see was similar to what we had in 2004. Maybe I could have given him a pointer here and there. But then it's always too late. But we need to create these kind of platforms, and it needs to start in the hockey community. We can say, right, okay, what are we talking about? Especially, I mean, I want to bang my head against the wall when I see how some of these goalkeepers are getting trained in South Africa. It's just incredible. It's sad to see that there is not real goalkeeper trainers in South Africa. There's just a handful that I know that can really qualify to train goalkeepers, and it's such a big part of the game, and it makes such a big difference. I always said, if you have a good goalkeeper, or if you train a goalkeeper, it will give you an extra 30% in the game, and that's an extra 2 goals by losing a game by a goal or winning a game by a goal. And we just don't see that. But we need to find these goalkeepers, and we need to find these coaches, talking to each other and try to create these kind of platforms, because honestly, it's just amazing to see, walking into that auditorium in Florida, seeing all these coaches just sitting there and just eating the information and discussing it and just being like sponges. And they're just getting stronger and stronger, going back to the universities and implementing it there. Same like you're having your chats with the guys in Ireland. We need to create that there, no doubt about it.
So Rassie, then you mentioned earlier that obviously your planned retirement was a little bit postponed due to the pandemic. Are you definitely stepping down after the Olympics next year? And what does retirement look like for you after hockey? We know obviously you've got PK and you've got that going, and I know you do stuff in America, but what does retirement look like for you, life after hockey?
Yeah, look, I mean, it's retire. If I didn't have to retire, I wouldn't have. But I think there comes a time for everything. I'm 37 now, so there's a couple of really good young goalkeepers coming through now, and they're keeping me on my toes. And there's you get a certain time where you have to move on, and there's a bit of time to spend time with family and try to apply my mind to some other challenges and other opportunities, and that's how life goes. I mean, I've had a full career. If I think about it, if I could play for another couple of years for South Africa, I would have. I still feel young and fit, and it feels like I can still play for another 2 or 3 years. But I think it's just the amount of time that you're away from home, from your family, and it's time to all these sacrifices that I've made and what my family has made for me over the last 14 or 15 years I've played for South Africa. It's time that I also, give a little bit back, and spending some time with them. And then, of course, you touch on my career. I've got a very nice business that I absolutely love. So, to grow that further. I'll always be involved in hockey. I mean, told it to someone the other day. It's not a career. It's a lifestyle. We absolutely love this game we play. I just love my hockey mates. I love my club teammates. So I always would like to stay involved in some way. Maybe a mentorship, maybe helping a little bit from a goalkeeping training or defensive training with the national teams if I'm good enough. And then I'll still try to play. If they pick me, at least one more season provincial hockey, and see where my club hockey goes until I don't enjoy it anymore. But yeah, I guess that's going to be still a long time from here. But international hockey, I think I've had quite a good innings, but I still got some unfinished business that I want to do when we're in Tokyo at the Olympics. I still feel there's a little bit of gas still left, and there's something in the gut that tells me that there's something we can achieve at Tokyo. Hopefully, what SA Hockey or the SA Hockey fans haven't seen yet.
Well, I know Austin Smith knows this very well, but there's an open invitation to you as well to join us at Belvoir Hockey Club at any time you should feel like that.
Listen, it's guaranteed. There's a few things that's guaranteed about that, so that's why I would sign immediately. It's guaranteed that there's no fitness training.
100%.
It's guaranteed there'll be some ice cold beers there. So I'm in.
100%. Well, in that case, we'll send you the.
And Keenan Horn will be able to tell you. Keenan Horn will be able to tell you first-hand experience what Belvoir Hockey Club is all about. So
awesome. Looking forward. And I believe there's some Paro brandy there on tap as well, so I'll be fine.
100%.
Yeah, you'll be sorted.
Then, Rassie, just quickly before we let you go, I had a question from actually one of our goalkeepers at Belvoir Hockey Club. You wanted to know about any TK ranges and stuff. What's the update on that? I know we touched on it off air that it's been obviously not easy for brands, especially sport brands during this time. But do you guys have any cool ranges and stuff coming out, or do we have to just stay tuned to see?
I mean, from a goalkeeping point of view, I'm sure you've seen this. Just majority of international goalkeepers are using TK. All 4 of the South African goalkeepers are using TK. So the products is just the technology that's been going into the products the last couple of years is just amazing. I mean, I'm still amazed sometimes when I put on my gear to feel how light it is, but you still get protected. Of course, there's always here and there a little hole that's open. But yeah, the goalkeeping stuff, I mean, it's something I chose from as a youngster. Yes, I'm running the TK distribution rights in South Africa, but it all started by playing with TK and just falling in love with the brand. I just absolutely love the brand, and unfortunately, we had a beautiful range that we wanted to launch this year, but that all got basically we all got knocked under the knees on the 19th of February.
It all got COVID.
We've locked it up in the warehouse. We switched off the lights, but we're making sure when the hockey is back to normal, that beautiful collection will come out. We got plenty of sticks that's full of goals. So yeah, so quite excited to see the new sticks in the hands of some top players.
Awesome stuff. Well, we look forward to that. Keegan, I don't know if you've got anything else for Rassie.
No, I did get a message from someone, Rassie, and you might know this lad, Sean Linford, who used to be for SPT. I think it was SPT was his. He did a lot of the fitness testing for you guys back in the day. We called him Sharky. You might have known him.
I was just going to say that.
There we go. Yeah, Sharky sends his. Sharky says hi.
Try to forget.
Yeah.
It starts with fitness trainer. Those are the actually you try to forget for the rest of your life.
Sharky says, please send Rassie my regards and tell him I say how's it. So there we go. I've sent the message over to you.
That's awesome. Yeah, and also to Sharky. Sharky, you won't believe it or not, I still got the record for maximum push-ups, maximum sit-ups, and I still can do a full 8 pull-ups. So yeah, thanks for everything you did in the past, Russ. Yeah, thanks for stuffing us up. I probably could have played another 5 more years if you were around, but yeah.
Lekker, thanks, Rassie. From our side, thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you in Cape Town again. Then we can get a beer again in more normal in sort of circumstances. Good luck with all the training. all the best to all the lads, and we'll definitely catch up with you again to follow your road to what is now 2021, no longer 2020.
No, thanks a lot, guys. It's lucky to catch up. You guys are doing a great job. So keep the pundits going. I'm glad to see. And yes, I was impressed with this intro. It reminded me of the old Top Sport from back in the day.
At least we didn't fuck it up this time. Last night it didn't work. One thing I also wanted to say is a little tap on our own backs is I think this is the first time we've done like hockey related content where we didn't try and upset the apple cart. So I think this is the first time we've done like just a legit friendly hockey chat.
It's PG hockey content at this point.
Yeah.
I'll wait for the SMSs coming through now, so I'll let you guys
know. Usually once once we do hockey content, half the hockey community hates us and the others love us. So hopefully this time we got it right.
It means you're being honest, so keep up the honest work.
Yeah. All right, James, thank you so much, and have a lucky evening. Thanks to everyone.
Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Rasta. Thanks for joining, mate.